The Backdoor People, Memories from the Houses Where I Lived, by Braseth Johnson, narrated for you by the author. Introduction. My childhood memories are all shelved away in my mind in volumes called houses, houses with names, the houses we lived in when I was growing up in the Great Depression era. Like books on a library shelf, I have given each one an identifying title. The back door half house, the front door half house, the house up north, the Sluky house, and the house we bought. Each house we lived in had a location which determined who our neighbors and playmates were, no arranged playdates by protective mothers, how far we walked to school and Sunday school, for indeed we did walk. It determined how far we carried the groceries when we did errands for our mother, and whether or not we had to face heel-nipping dogs or intimidating bullies. By the time I was 12 years old, we had lived in 5 houses, if you count shifting from one half of a house to the other half, each one holding a volume of memories and pages of experiences that helped shape who I was becoming. Each house was more than a place of shelter. It was a place where we felt secure and cared for, a place where we belonged, a setting for our memories and emotions and for traditions lived out. And in those early years, a place from which father went forth to work and mother stayed home to nurture. These are my memories of my childhood, written now as I'm 85 years old. In my mind, they are accurate, but sometimes my sisters, one older and one younger, didn't remember the same situation as I did. With their input, sometimes I adjusted facts and figures, especially how much something cost, but mostly I was just sure I was right. Memories can be like that. When we rehearse vague recollections in our minds, we can turn fiction into facts. My story is not a dramatic story. It is merely recalling how life was lived in northern Minnesota by a family struggling to make ends meet in the Depression era, living before the age of technology, doing with less, and finding our way day by day. When I was about 10 years old, my sister Betty accused me in a tone of disgust, "Oh, you are such a Pollyanna." Pollyanna was the glad girl who was always optimistic regardless of circumstance. I plead guilty. Even though I was shy and introverted, I had a happy nature. No doubt that happy nature slanted how I remembered places and events, and so I gladly share my memories of growing up in the Depression era. Braseth Johnson. Prologue. Times were hard in Norway in the mid-1800s. Word was coming from America that land was free to settlers through the Homestead Act, signed in 1862 by Abraham Lincoln. For the price of a small filing fee, immigrants could be given 160 acres of homestead land. After living there for 5 years, the homestead would be theirs. 2 of those homesteads were on opposite sides of the South Branch of the Wild Rice River in Hagen Township, Ulen, Minnesota. My father, Louis Braseth, was born in 1903 in the homestead on one side of that river, and my mother, Eleanor Wang, was born in 1907 in the homestead on the other side. Louis and Eleanor, those 2 farm kids, fell in love and married, and lived with Louis's parents for the first year. After their first daughter, Betty, was born, they moved briefly to Moorhead and then settled in Twin Valley, Minnesota, where I was born. An auto mechanic job attracted my dad to the neighboring town of Monoman, and so we moved when I was 3 and Betty was 5. It was here that my childhood memories were formed. Part 1, The Backdoor Half House. Chapter 1, The Backdoor Half House. A house gets its name in retrospect. Wherever we lived, we called it home. But when we looked back and wanted to differentiate between houses, we gave them names. Our first house in Monoman came to be named the Backdoor Half House. That's because it actually was half a house, a duplex that was not originally built to be a 2-family home. The front door, a large living room kitchen, and the upstairs belonged to the other renters. We had the downstairs, and our entrance was
Sample complete. Ready to continue?